My name is Whitney Smith. I'm the Director of Development for Lawndale Christian Development Corporation. This year our theme is Mission in Motion, and in keeping with that theme, we're launching our 2019 second quarter Show Me Your Roots campaign. We launched this campaign to highlight the importance of affordable housing. There's a very real connection between self-worth, dignity, and stable housing. While the prevailing notion might seem to suggest that impoverished communities don't deserve access to beautiful neighborhoods and homes, we stand with our community to be seen as fully human by providing access to secure, attractive, affordable housing.
My name is Richard Townsell. I'm the Executive Director of the Lawndale Christian Development Corporation. I've been a community resident for most of my adult life. I've been the Executive Director of LCDC for 18 years now. Over the past 32 years, we've done over $100 million in residential development. That means about 481 units.
My name is Kelly Smith. I'm actually the president of the board of Lawndale Christian Development Corporation. Lawndale Christian Development Corporation has been a pillar in this community.
My name is Ava Shelby, and I'm a board member of Lawndale Christian Development Corp.
I am Kerry Casey, shepherding pastor at Lawndale Christian Community Church. I have the great privilege to be on the board at Lawndale Christian Development Corporation.
My name is Janet Gonzalez. I've been in my home for 18 years, since 2004.
I think the thing that makes it feel like home is that it's the place where my daughter first learned how to walk, first learned how to read. My son first learned how to walk. First learned how to read. In the backyard, we used to put these little pools back there. They have those little kiddie pools, and they would splash in the water, and there was flowers in the backyard, and just all of the things that people kind of take for granted in kind of suburban neighborhoods that our kids were able to experience in this neighborhood.
I think what really makes it feel like home is that the people that I live around, the people that I grew up with, the people who came before me and after me, they have access to me and I have access to them. There were a lot of young boys. I have a nephew, and he would bring his friends over my house, and I would see his friends more than I would see him. And so those young guys had access to me. They would come over. I would teach them how to box, feed them. We would have small little Bible studies.
I have a creative side to me, so I like to decorate, so it's exactly what I want. But I also have two sons and my brother who lives with me. And to me, that's what makes a home. I want to come home to somebody. I want to come home to people I love and who love me.
Well, it makes it feel like home when I arrive from work and everyone else arrives from school, and we're all sitting down in the dinner, eating and talking about how our day went. And as well, when I see my kids in their bedroom, in their own personal space, that makes me feel like home, happy.
And the opportunity presented itself for me to move here. And when I walked into the home the first time, I said, wow, this would be very nice. It was a model home, and it was an option to purchase the model home. And then I later found out that the furniture would come with it. And I was like, wow, this would be awesome if this actually happened. And then it happened, and it was very surreal. It was, I felt very thankful. I recognized how blessed I was, but also recognized, even at that stage, how much of a responsibility I had to be a blessing to others.
How my happiest memory was the day that the realtor gave me the key, and I put it in the door, and I walked in and said, "This is mine." I felt such pride. I'd done this on my own, so I felt such pride, and I thought I got a blank, landscape here. I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and that's kind of what I've done over the years.
It meant to me a lot to be able to provide that kind of space. I think that, my wife and I both grew up sort of poor, and I grew up in public housing. She grew up poor in Kansas City, and so this is our first home together. And so it was the kind of place where we could have, family dinners over, and nieces and nephews and cousins and other folks could come by, and we could entertain, and it was something that was ours.
I was super happy that I forgot to turn on the gas. So our first 2 days at our home, it was cold, but it was amazing because we all had to cuddle together. And yeah, it was just 2 cold days, but it was so happy.
Prior to being married in Costa Rica, I had a small ceremony in my home, and I think that was a very special moment. Yeah, just a few people, family members, close people came to make it official, and I think that was really special. But I've had a lot of good moments in that home, but I think that's the one that always stand out to me.
My favorite, happiest moment at my home, it was the day I was able to sit in my backyard. When we bought the house, it had no garage or no fence, and I had little kids at that time. They were so tiny, and it was not too safe for them to be in the backyard. So I just remember the day when I put the chair, put my water next to me, and seeing them running around. So that was the happiest day ever.
You know, I'd want everyone in the neighborhood to have the kind of memories that we've had or create their own memories in the neighborhood. I think our neighborhood has been depopulated really since 1960. 125,000 people in 1960, maybe 40,000 today. And so we want to begin to figure out a way that local folks that want to stay will have an opportunity to stay and rebuild on their own home, live in decent, beautiful, safe apartments, you know, just like any other community in the city of Chicago, you know. And so once we begin to do that, that will have an impact on economic development. It'll have an impact on schools. It'll have an impact on how the police serve and protect this neighborhood as opposed to other neighborhoods. It'll have an impact on what the Park District does and you know, sorts of cultural programming that we've been trying to do with Lexi and other folks. And so I'm excited because to me that's the building block for everything else that we want to do.
Housing is important because it allows you some ownership. And in that ownership, you can also acquire equity, and equity is very important. By owning a home, it gives you some self-pride. It does actually gives you a little bit of status in the community, and it's something you can pass down to another generation. It's a legacy, and it encourages the next generation to be owners versus renters.
Living in this community, they can see your successes as well as your failures. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the great opportunities we have to model in our community. We've had some great experiences, the ups and downs of life, but to be able to have folks in the home and to take ownership of your community as we serve one another.
Unfortunately, a lot of low-income areas are just looked over. No one pays attention. And the people who live in these communities are valuable human beings like everybody else, and they deserve nice housing in good in neighborhoods that are safe. And when you start to, own your own home, you actually start to create a community, because that brings pride. If home ownership and equity gives you a lot of power too. That gives you a lot of power when you want to buy a car or anything else, because now you have a home, you've paid your mortgage on a regular basis. So it helps you move from one economic level to another economic level. And I think that's very important in order for a community that is underserved to start to change their destiny.
When I was a young kid, I grew up on 22nd and Avers. And this was the street that Lawndale Christian Development Corporation decided to develop their first property. They picked Avers because of all the trouble that was associated with Avers. I remember being a kid and looking at playing along the block and not seeing any grass at all in front of anyone's house. And when Lawndale Christian Development Corporation came to develop that property, that was my first time seeing grass in front of a house. And so they've always had a special place in my heart.
Affordable housing is essential. A lot of the problems that occur in urban areas really revolve around not having stable housing, whether it's school issues or homelessness or social determinants of health or economic development. All of those issues really resolve around not having decent, safe, and sustainable affordable housing.
I am thrilled that God has blessed us to have an organization like the Lawndale Christian Development Corporation. If there's any need in this community, is housing. If there's anything that I pray for every morning, is housing for our residents to have a place that they can go to and call their own. If it's renting, leasing as we say, or really having their name on the dotted line where it's home ownership. But to have a place that people can come to and they feel safe, they feel secure in their home, but then the community aspect of where we all take ownership of our block, but then that block, it grows into the other blocks and into the North Lawndale community. We have to have that. That will bless us more in America than a lot of things.